Well, let me put it this way. There is a third group, and those are my political enemies. And of course, they are fishing in troubled waters. And how do I satisfy both groups? The communists will not be satisfied with anything short of a takeover of the government. There's only one way to satisfy them, and that's turn communist, and I won't do that.
As you know, several of the student leaders do not look with favor upon you or with favor upon the leaders of the opposition party here. Can you see the survival of a third party in the Philippines?
Some of the student leaders who don't look with favor on me, I think, have their own selfish and private.
Have you been able to make any progress in making contact with the Communist Chinese in terms of trade?
We are not intending to trade with Red China. Wherever did you get that idea?
Well,
we have always said that
we
don't intend to do so. We are experimenting on trade with Eastern European socialist countries. And depending upon the result of that trade, we can extend them to other countries, but not Red China nor Russia.
So Red China and Russia are out for the foreseeable future?
Yes.
About 7 or 8 minutes. Mr. President, to begin with, your assessment, please, of the current domestic situation in the Philippines.
Well, everything has turned to normal. There is no rioting, no demonstrations. The mayor apparently has not given any permits for any demonstrations. The students, legitimate student groups who have some legitimate demands have met with the groups that I have created, the committee that is composed of the Secretary of Labor, the Secretary of Education, and one of my assistant executive secretaries, and they're working on whatever can be done.
Do you expect the spirit of calm to continue?
Yes and no. I think that the subversives who actually started all the rioting and took advantage of the peaceful demonstration of the students will not let this continue.
To a certain extent, Mr. President, you seem to be between the hammer and the anvil. On the one hand, you've got a growing spirit of Filipino nationalism that wants you to stop taking economic aid and support from the United States. On the other hand, the group that you yourself have described as being sponsored by or motivated by communist elements. How do you satisfy both groups?
I will in due time, I guess by the weekend, reveal some documents which prove this.
Well, how large a group are they? Is this just a
Not too
group
large.
of 10 or 20 leaders? Do they have any massive support?
I don't believe that those who are politically inclined, meaning those who would like to take over the government for any political group, are too many. For instance, when the subversive elements tried to demonstrate here on Friday morning, there were only about 100 of them. And they got so dispirited because of this lack of numbers, they went to Congress where there were about 5,000 legitimate demonstrators. And they started putting up their banners in front of the legitimate demonstrators without the permission of the latter.
You're right in the middle, Mr. President, of a campaign to promote tourism here in the Philippines.
Yes, that's the
this kind of trouble doesn't do it any
part
good,
about
does it? What can you do to counter the kind of image that the Philippines are getting now?
Well, maintain calm, I guess. That's the only way. We can't say anything. This is something which happens in every country. Have you ever seen the Sengakuren do the snake dance in the streets of Tokyo in the Ginza? Or have you, you have seen your own university students take over the universities in the United States, and yet that doesn't stop the tourists from going there.
Yes, but you've never really had a big tourist industry here.
120,000 tourists a year. Not big compared to Hong Kong, which is about 800,000, Bangkok, which is about 400,000, and Japan, which is more. But as I said, as soon as there is calm and order, I don't think that this will in any way be too much of an obstacle to tourists.
Well, which are people supposed to believe, Mr. President? On the one hand, your obviously justifiable fears that there is an element in Philippine society which is trying to overthrow the government. On the other hand, your efforts to convince particularly foreign interests that things are calm.
Well, there are elements who do want to overthrow the government. They have been here, how long now? Since 1950. Magsaysay, the late president, was supposed to have eradicated them, but of course he did not. That's why we have such elements like the Hooks, the HMBs, and the Mau Maus now, and the New Communist Party. But they are an irritant. They do not constitute a serious threat.
Do you think that's an accurate word to describe them?
Yes,
irritant? They're not more serious than that?
No, not more serious than that. Of course, they can, as any small group, can engage in such irresponsible acts like sabotage or even violence. And that's to be understood. But I don't think that this kind of violence and this kind of sabotage will affect our people at all. It will affect our economy, I grant it.
Mr. President, as you know, speaking of economy, the world money market rates the Philippine peso about 35% less than the official rate here in the Philippines. Are you going to be forced in the weeks ahead, do you think, towards a devaluation of the peso?
No, I don't believe so. We'll watch what will happen after the meetings with the IMF. As you know, Governor Licares, our central bank, is in the United States now. They are meeting. The consortium of banks in the United States have extended the loans that were due this month or next month. And we are getting some loans. So we can't say that everything is lost and that everybody has abandoned us and we are going to just fold up.
As you know, Mr. President, rumors out of Washington today, or reports rather, from the Defense Department that American bases here may be among those closed down. Is this a good time for that to happen?
Well, I really don't know whether it's a good time or not. But whether the bases are here or not, I can assure you, we will maintain peace and order.
Well, how about the economy?
The bases are not helping us in maintaining peace and order.
How about
we
economy,
are maintaining
though?
peace and order in the bases with our own troops. The economy is something else. We believe that by the time the bases are dismantled, if there is any such plan, because you have unusually big bases here, we will have been able to increase our exports to make up for the about it's $40 million that we would lose annually. Well, that's it.
Well, Mr. President, your assessment, please, of the current situation here in the Philippines. To a certain extent, Mr. President, you seem to be between the hammer and the anvil. On the one hand, a growing spirit of Filipino nationalism, which wants to do away with dependency upon the United States. On the other hand, a movement that you yourself have described as communist-inspired, which has attempted to take over the seat of power here at Malacañang Palace. Let's do the whole thing again, please. Mr. President, to a certain extent, you appear to be between the hammer and the anvil. On the one hand, a growing spirit of Filipino nationalism, which wants to do away with dependence on the United States. On the other hand, a movement that you yourself have described as communist-inspired. How do you satisfy both groups? As you know, Mr. President, hold it, YB. As you know, Mr. President, many of the student leaders have no faith either in you or in your opposition party leaders. What chance does a third party have of survival here in the Philippines? You're right in the middle of an active campaign to promote tourism. What does this kind of situation do to those attempts? The Filipino peso, as you know, Mr. President, is now worth about 35% less on the world money market than the official rate here in the Philippines. Are you going to be forced to devalue the peso?